Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And we are presented by the Ooltewah Club. We thank them so much for all the partnerships they have with us. They are fantastic. We strongly recommend it. You got pickleball, dining, fantastic golf. I was there earlier today with my daughter. My daughter will be on the next episode of Cart Cam, and then we're gonna have to get Rustin on one of those episodes too. But my daughter, it was fantastic being out there with her today. She had her best drive of her life while we were there. So that was exciting. Went about 150 yards, which was actually, now she got help off the cart path a little bit too, which is, she played it that way, I'm sure. But it was a lot of fun being there. And it's funny in the cart cam video, she has a rainbow unicorn head cover for her driver. And it's hilarious because in the whole video, the unicorn is like right there the whole time. And some of the time it's like facing the camera, so it's like looking at the camera. It's pretty funny. But played halfway decent. I was happy. I was 5 shots better today than I was on Sunday, so getting better. Struck the ball well, which was good. We are going live in the middle of a game. The Lady Vols are playing right now. The men play this Saturday at 1:00 in Thompson Bowling Arena. The ladies play again this Sunday at 3:00 in Thompson Bowling Arena. They got Oklahoma coming to town. Jonas Adu and Arkansas make their way back to Thompson Bowling on Saturday for the men, and there's going to be some big football recruits in the building at that time. Rustin, what have you seen from the Lady Vols in the first half against A&M that you've liked? Obviously, having a 22-point lead going into halftime is not bad.
I think what's most impressive to me is they're the same every night. Do they have issues? Yeah, they still struggle at times with stopping the ball in transition. The one thing they've got to figure out, and this is not a knock on Tess Darby, she's just not as athletic as some of the other players. They've got to figure out how to get Tess off of the front of the press and let her be back at the basket, because she hurts them in transition. But it's amazing. They're relentless. They keep coming. I like all the stuff they're doing offensively with all the motion they're running, all the ball screens they're running. Talasia Cooper blows.
They started the second half running 5 out.
Yeah. Talasia Cooper blows my mind. She just flies at the basket and finds a way to get the ball in the hoop. It's incredible. She just throws it up half the time. They're so consistent, and on any given night, any 4 or 5 different girls can beat you. It's pretty amazing to watch.
That's a great point. That's a very good point. The thing that I enjoyed watching the most from this team in the first half, their passing and fast break offense, just beautiful. I mean, I haven't seen them pass the ball to each other that well this season in transition offense, and it was really, really fun to watch. They were the beneficiaries of some unforced turnovers by Texas A&M. For example, the one where the girl dribbled the ball off her foot when she really wasn't being guarded all that tight, but they gave enough pressure that forced her to feel like she had to cross over, and then she kicked it. So kicked it straight to, I think it was Sarah Puckett at the time. Mm-hmm. Did Coach Kim just call timeout? I think Coach Kim just called timeout.
They did a really poor job in defensive rotation, 2 straight possessions, and she's furious.
That is a rare sighting. Kim Caldwell timeout. That is not normal.
Yeah, that's strictly to chew somebody up.
Let's see. Some of the comments coming through. SEC football. Welcome, buddy. He said, I see 8-4 next year for Tennessee with losses to Syracuse, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama.
A little early for that.
Yeah, but I would say this. I get Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. I get that. I would not include Syracuse in that number, because all of Syracuse's best players are going elsewhere. They're all going to transfer to a bigger school to get more publicity, more money. So I don't foresee a loss to Syracuse, but the other 3, I mean, you could say that at this point, sure. Kevin, welcome, buddy. Great to have you.
You also have no idea who Tennessee's going to have.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
breaking news
now.
Breaking news as of 3 hours ago, Alabama wide receiver who's in the transfer portal, Amari Jefferson. I'm assuming, isn't that the same Amari Jefferson that went to Baylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here in Chattanooga. It was committed to Tennessee for baseball, ended up going to Alabama for football. I doubt baseball and football combo deal is in the works. Maybe, I don't know, but I doubt that's the case.
I don't know. I always thought he was a better baseball player than football. So, and I know Tony Vitello loved him in high school. So, might be surprised. On three, he's already crystal balled him to Tennessee.
Steve Wiltfong, national guy.
Mhm.
So anytime one of the national guys does it, you pretty much know that's what's going to happen. So he'll be in the house Saturday afternoon in Thompson Bowling Arena to see the Vols play Arkansas. Kevin said, "Thank you, Ooltewah Club." Absolutely, totally agree. Thank you so much for saying that. Kevin said Georgia's quarterback looked pretty good tonight. He wasn't at Beck's top performance, but he also wasn't at Beck's usual consistent level either. He seemed to have some drive to win as well. Yeah, Kirby Smart got Kirby Smarted in that, fourth down, run the punt team out, sub everybody real quick kind of thing.
So, have you seen the replay?
The wide receiver, a false starting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty obvious too. Like, I don't know how that line judge didn't see that, because it wasn't like he just leaned forward or flinched. He brought his arm up, like he brought his whole hand up, like that was pretty obvious. There's been a couple interesting officiating calls the last couple days.
Yeah. Well, like I texted you, the NCAA having to come out this morning and say that Arizona State actually should have won that game in regulation, but the refs didn't know that a ball can bounce through the uprights if no one touches it and be good. So that blocked field goal that bounced through the uprights, they ruled it dead and said it was no good. But the reality was, because no one touched it after the block, it was a live ball, and it should have been a good field goal. It's a rare rule, but not a single ref on the field knew it, and they ruled it no good. And the reality was, it should have counted. So Arizona State should have won that game in regulation.
Yeah, and that's a big deal, because we're talking like national championship on the line. You could almost understand the NCAA reversing the outcome of that game and saying, no, Arizona State actually won the game, because they did win the game. That's a tough one there. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. He said, "Hey guys, what's up? You think the Lady Vols are good? Boy, they're taking it to A&M. They have definitely started conference play well. That is for sure, for sure." Let's see here. Kevin said, "If I'm not mistaken, haven't all the teams who hosted a first round game won and are heading into the semifinals? Texas, yes. Ohio State, yes. Penn State, yes. Notre Dame, yes. You're right. All four of them. Yeah, that's exactly right. And speaking of that, so the Final Four is set. You've got two Big Ten teams, one SEC team, and one independent. Now, what's interesting is somebody was saying earlier on Twitter, we didn't need to expand the playoff to 12 teams. It should have been the top four. Okay, well, Notre Dame kind of ruined that theory tonight, because if it had just been the top four ranked teams, Oregon's gone. They're out. They got beat by a non-top four team. So Ohio State and Notre Dame, two of the teams that are going to the Final Four, would not have been in the tournament if you had just taken the top four teams. So that argument that we don't need to expand it to 12, literally this first year has proven that you do, because two of the four were not in the top four. Kevin said, "Where are the Lady Vols on SEC Network Plus?" So I'm currently watching them on the ESPN app. Let's see. Eric said, "What's up, Evan and Rustin? Vol Bros, go Big Orange." He said, "I like the cart cam. That's a smart idea, doing that on the Vol Bros YouTube channel. Enjoy it, Rustin. Got to get on the cart cam with you soon." Absolutely. We'll get him out there. I got a drive of Rustin's on the third hole that I'm going to post in the next couple days. It was good. It was good. It was I don't know, at least 220, 230-yard drive, and this is the one that we used for when we were playing over there the other day. So about
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I think. So it'll be on there, but we got to get him in the cart cam because that'd be a lot of fun to have the cart cam. It's been a good time. It really has. I'm enjoying it. Let's see. Greg said, "Welcome, Greg. Good to have you." He said, "Shooting is much improved. Great trapping, great speed." That was one thing that was catching A&M off guard when in the first half in transition defense, Tennessee would be running back, and all of a sudden somebody would stop and jump trap, the person bringing the ball up the court. Tennessee got at least one, maybe two steals off of that. Let's see. Tony, welcome, buddy. He said, I know she shoots okay, but man, Sarah Puckett is slow. I understand that. She is definitely in there for her size and her shooting ability. That's for sure. Will, welcome, buddy. He said, good evening, everyone. Nice to hear you're playing better, Evan. Yep. So Will is a former golf instructor. You'd have been proud of how I was compressing the ball tonight, Will. You'd have been proud of it, man. So the six most dangerous words for any golfer is I watched a YouTube video, and but I did watch a YouTube video, and it was talking about what your knees should do in your swing and what they should not do in your swing. And I was doing what they should not do. So I changed to do what they should do, and man, it really did work. It was really nice. Let's see here. Kevin said Tess can shoot as well. Absolutely.
I never cease to be amazed at how bad SEC women's basketball refs are. And every year I think they can't possibly get any worse. And every year they prove me wrong. Like, it is unbelievable how many calls they miss and how many just basic basketball things they just don't know and can't seem to understand. Like, I don't know if no one teaches them this stuff. Girl for A&M just got called for a walk a second ago on an absolutely gorgeous spin move for a layup that was 100% legal. And they called her for a walk because they couldn't fathom that she could get where she got in 2 steps. I mean, just totally assumed it had to be a walk and called it. And it wasn't even remotely close. You know, a while ago, Sarah Puckett caught the ball in the paint, made an up and under move and did a fantastic step through, and they called a walk because, again, they couldn't fathom how she could have possibly made that move without walking. Like, this is just basic basketball knowledge. How do you not know that these things are okay? It's unbelievable to watch.
I'll tell you what, Jewel Spears fun to watch play.
Yeah,
She's
she
a
is.
lot of fun to watch. Let's see here. Some of the other comments. Oh, speaking of Will was, commenting there. Will, congratulations to your Buckeyes, buddy. They are putting on a clinic right now. I don't think anybody is going to be able to stop them though if they keep playing the way they're playing. They are putting on a clinic.
Chip Kelly's been impressive.
Absolutely. Jonathan, welcome, buddy. Second evening, Vol Bros. I saw a wide receiver from Bama. Oh, yeah, we talked about Amari Jefferson. Yep. I definitely think Tennessee has a big shot to land him for sure. Because they were the favorite when he was coming out of high school year 4 last. Tennessee was a favorite.
Well, he was committed to baseball.
Yeah.
I'll be interesting to see if Tony allows him to come on out.
Eric said Talasia Cooper is it for Lady Vols. Haven't seen a Lady Vols basketball player as good as her in a few years. Yeah, she's legit. Yeah, for sure. She is legit. Let's see. Greg said Lady Vols are currently on a 7-0 run. Elijah said Syracuse. Yeah, he doesn't think we're going to lose Syracuse either. Elijah said he remembers when Amari Jefferson was committed to Tennessee and then he went to Bama. He was really upset when that happened. Yeah, there's quite a few folks that were not cool with that. Eric said Coach Kim gets on these Lady Vols players. She doesn't often, but when she does, she lights them up. Kind of reminds me of Pat Summit. Not saying she's Pat, but reminds of her. Absolutely. He said she's calm 1 minute and then gets on them the next. Reminds him of Pat. Absolutely. SEC football. Oh, that's a good question. He said, is this the best Lady Vols team since 2014, 2015?
Probably. I would say so.
And that's what's interesting. The talent level may not be as good, but the way they play makes them better.
Yeah.
Like that, they the numbers. I mean, we talked about it's math. Like you get up enough shots, you're going to beat teams, and that's exactly what's happening.
It
They get enough
just happened
turnovers, enough
again.
shots.
Kalasia Cooper just made the exact same spin move. It was
Yeah.
100% legal, and they called a
Yeah.
walk because
Yep.
they just don't know basketball. Like, it's amazing. That is not a walk.
Yep. People have been asking if we could do like a watch party. We're kind of doing it right now, actually.
It drives me nuts. SEC women's basketball refs are the absolute worst. And for the amount of money they make, there's no reason they should be this bad.
So Herb said, besides the lock for Jefferson, we're probably a lock. But I'm after what happened last time, I can't say it's a lock. Who else are we looking at in the portal? I would say people that we don't know yet. And Rustin can give his opinion too, but I'm going to say people that we just don't know yet. Because, I mean, here's the thing. 6 hours ago, we didn't know about Amari Jefferson. I think there's people still playing that they want. Yeah, we just don't know yet. That would be my guess. Especially offensive linemen. I have to believe they're looking for an offensive lineman somewhere who's still playing.
Yeah. I think the running back at South Dakota State, I think he's definitely one that to watch. I would say we're probably in his top two. I think it'll be interesting to see, Malik Benson's going to be on site this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we lock him up this weekend. He fits what they like to do. He's an athletic, rangy wide receiver, and I think he'd be a good fit. But again, that's why people predicting what our record's going to be. I'm like, what is the point?
Yeah.
You have no idea what this team's going to look like, even in a month.
Yeah, nobody does.
So
Heupel doesn't know.
let it play out. I mean, there's only one group of people who know what's needed for this team to keep growing and improving, and that's the coaching staff. And they know what needs to happen in the locker room. They know who they need in order to take that next step. And they're going to go out and they're going to find those guys. And so we'll see pretty quickly the type of player they go and get in the portal is going to tell you everything you need to know about how this team is going to respond next year.
Well, one thing that we can be certain of is that Nico has to take a more vocal approach to leadership this offseason because he's going to have essentially a brand new receiving core. He has to be the initiator that gets them out there to throw routes, run, voluntary, man to voluntary workouts from Nico. Like he's got it. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Nico is draft eligible after this next season. If he plays like he did this season, he will not enter the NFL draft. I'm sure he wants to play much better so that, it's not outside the realm possibility that he's drafted this next year. Tennessee is preparing that way because of the way they're stockpiling 5-star quarterbacks behind him. But this is a money year for Nico. It's a money year. And if he wants it to go the way he wants it to, he's got to be the one to initiate getting people out there to run routes and that kind of thing, and get people throwing the ball around the yard a little bit. Elijah said he absolutely loves the Summit blue jerseys Tennessee's wearing. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Kevin said this is a Cinderella outcome for college football. Can't go 64 teams, but with 12, we're getting enough in that a hot team can make their way. Even if Tennessee hosted, however, still wouldn't have made to the semifinals. We would have had to have played probably Notre Dame, we would have gotten to host SMU at the beginning though. That would have been nice.
Yep.
Let's see. Missy Vols said one thing about it. Coach Caldwell is recruiting very quick and athletic players, perfect for her system. Sarah and Tess have given their all anyway. I always love and appreciate those girls. Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why they're on the court.
Yeah, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Sarah and Tess have a place in this system. I mean, there's times when they need Tess to hit some big shots. There's going to be times in conference play when they're going to have to run some set plays to get Sarah some post up and key moments. But man, Tess a minute ago gave up another layup in transition because she's just too slow to press people.
Well, and one of the big questions everybody had coming into this season, especially after the early success against not so great teams, people were asking, how's this going to translate to conference play? Are they going to be able to play this way in the SEC and win games? And we're watching it unfold before our eyes right now. They certainly can.
Yeah, they've gotten real sloppy the last 5 minutes. They need to calm down and get back to just doing what they do.
Yep. Elijah said it. I said it in one of the last streams that no one is beating Ohio State. Absolutely. I mean, the way they're playing right now, no one is going to beat them. Will said, "Who is the best Lady Vols basketball player of all time? Is it Candace Parker? How about men's basketball? Allen Houston?" I mean, I think you're right about men's basketball. I mean, people might be able to say, Bernie, but Allen Houston, it's kind of hard to top him. Can't for women's basketball. What do you think? Because I've got another answer.
I think it's either Candace or Shamika Holtzclaw.
That was mine. Yep.
I'd say it's one or the other. Men's wise, I'd say it's
with Tamika Catchings probably being number 3.
Yeah. Men's wise, I'd say it's a coin toss between Bernard King and Allen Houston.
Yep.
With Dale Ellis as a close third.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the Lady Vols are still up by 24.
No, 14.
Oh, yeah, math is hard. Let's see here. Eric said, Evan and Rustin, what are y'all's thoughts on Tennessee Lane and the Branch brothers, honestly?
I don't necessarily like that it's a package deal. I think the wide receiver is definitely a player you want. He's freaky fast and, reminds me a lot of Jalen Hyatt. His brother is a serviceable safety. I wouldn't say he's a great safety. So I don't really like the idea of having to take him if there was somebody out there who's better. But it is what it is. And if you've got to take him in order to get the receiver and, maybe he can provide some depth in the secondary, then so be it. But I'm not a big fan of players holding coaches hostage. I don't think you want to set a lot of precedents doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tennessee's getting real sloppy right now. Yeah. Kim's about to sub in 5 new people. I agree with Rustin. Here's my opinion on these two guys. You got to wonder why they're leaving USC. Clearly, they want to go somewhere where they feel like they have a chance to compete for a national championship, and they don't feel like that's the way it is at USC right now. Obviously, that puts Tennessee in the mix. That is one thing in Tennessee's favor because, Tennessee was in the college football playoff this year. So, they were in the hunt for a national championship. The thing that I think is working, and one other thing that's working for Tennessee is there is some familiarity between Nico and, Zachariah Branch. However, we're not talking about one NIL deal here. We're talking about 2. And I'm sure as much as they want to go play for a national title contender, they want to be paid as well. And can Tennessee fork out the money to pay both of them? I don't know. I think that's a lot tougher than if it's just one dude. And if you have limited amount of portal spots, do you really want to but do you really want to give one of those portal spots to somebody that you might not want as much as, other folks? So I think that's a tough one, actually. I would not want to be the coaching staff trying to work that thing out. I can tell you that much. Kevin said Chip has been impressive as far as Chip Kelly, but I also see that on-field leadership. Rustin mentioned a few shows ago, guys on that team who are fired up and step into the gap. Yeah, that's a good point. Audrey Audrey said, "How much to get Chip Kelly, Justin Fry, and Brian Hartline to Rocky Top?" And Will said, "About 10 million each." And she said, "Done." I love it. That was great. Will said, "Yeah, the Buckeyes look like they're definitely on a mission. I feel sorry for Quinn Ewers and Texas for what's about to happen to them." Yeah, especially if Texas comes out and plays the way they did in the second half yesterday. Really, even the first half. You can make a case for the first half. I mean, they scored only one offensive touchdown in the first half. So, yeah, that's not a good scenario for Texas's offense to go up against that defense for Ohio State right now. Let's see. Greg makes a great point here. He said the humiliating Michigan defeat was the best thing that could have happened to Ohio State, and he might be exactly right there. Because the team that we have seen take the field the last two games was not the same team that stepped on the field against Michigan. The team that's taken the field the last two games is the best team in the country. Let's see. Jonathan said, "So I just started watching other sports other than the football a few years ago. Do the redshirt rules resemble the football ones in other sports?"
All the same.
Let's see.
You know how what the indicator is of when an official's bad and they know it?
Well,
The amount of
Vol agrees with you.
yeah. The amount of chirping that is happening on that court right now from both teams at the refs, and they're just taking it.
That was a weak moving screen call right there. That was a weak call.
Well, on the previous possession, the girl threw her forearm out and just leveled Samara Spencer, and it was an obvious offensive foul. No call. But they're just taking abuse from these players. Like normally refs will let players talk to them, but they won't let them degrade them. And the players on both teams right now are actively degrading and condescending against these refs, and they're just taking it, which is, the telltale sign of, yeah, you might be right. I'm not real sure what I'm calling right now.
Eric said, "Why are the SEC women refs calling so many walks on Tennessee? It's crazy. They hadn't been walks." Bobby said, "Welcome, Bobby. Good to have you, buddy." He said, "You're correct. Wrestling girls basketball refs are horrendous." Sam said, "Heck, with the NBA refs, she could spin around 2 or 3 times." Yeah, you're right, Sam. You're right, buddy. Good to have you with us, Sam. SEC football said these refs are atrocious. Never seen anything like this.
Oh, just watch every week. This is SEC women's refs every single week. They never get better. They half the time they invent stuff. They'll call stuff that doesn't even exist.
Tony is correct. Tony said that as far as like who else we're looking at in the portal, there's a defensive lineman from Washington State that we're looking at, and he's exactly right. We sure are. Apparently, a lot of teams are looking at him, but we are certainly one in the mix. Let's see. Audrey said, "Right now, Ohio State has their wide receivers flying around making Houdini catches." Yeah, that catch yesterday by Emeka Ibuka that deflected off there's Jewel Spear, that deflected off of the other player, the defensive back, and he still caught it one-handed after that. That was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet.
And see, I can say both ways. I couldn't tell who that was on defense right there. I guess it was Jewel Spear. Jewel Spear just fouled that girl, and the ball rolled off the offensive player's foot, and they gave us the ball. It absolutely should have been a foul on Tennessee, but it all happens so fast. These refs can't keep up, and they just, they do the worst thing possible. They call what they think they see rather than reality, and it snowballs downhill from there.
Let's see. SEC football said, "Is this Tennessee team an Elite Eight team?" I'm assuming he's talking about the Lady Vols.
I think you could say that for either team. I think men's or women's. I think, but they're both built for tournament play for the same reason, but in a different way. They both play a style of defense that's going to take them deep in the postseason, but they just do it in very different types.
Yeah, the only thing that might ruin that for the Lady Vols is if they're having a night where they're not hitting threes and they can't get a lot of transition buckets. That would be the only thing. Like they had one game earlier this season where they just weren't hitting shots, but they still won because they took so many of them, and their defense allowed them to win the game. But it was against a much lesser opponent. So once you get in the tournament, they make it the Sweet 16. If they have a game like that, they're going to lose. But if they have just a regular normal game for them, they're going to win. I mean, like, I mean, it's just, I mean, literally, it's basic. It's just mathematics. Like that's all it is. Like you take enough shots and you hit a certain percentage, you're going to win the game, and that's what they're doing right now. Let's see. Will said no one in college football can cover Jeremiah Smith or any of the wide receivers at Ohio State. I mean, they're making a good case for it right now. Let's see. Whoa. From the grave, Johnny Majors is with us again. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, Johnny.
Joel Spear just banked in a 3.
Well, you got it going well, and that's happening. That's, I think, our 4-3 of the game. Let's see here. Johnny Major said, I probably wouldn't trade Matthews for Jefferson, just my opinion. Well, hopefully both will be in orange, because I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't make that trade either, but I'm hoping they're both in orange.
Z Spearman just swatted a ball out of bounds, and one of the refs tried to call a foul on her. Yeah, she got some of her face. They did call the foul.
So Tony made a great point here, and I'm glad that Tony said this because I meant to say this earlier too, and I forgot. Tony said we play young guys on defense. We got to play them some on offense as well, or it's going to be the same thing every year. We're going to have a rotating door at wide receiver, and I totally agree with him. Whoever they bring in, as far as through the portal or the 4 or 5 dudes they signed at wide receiver, they got to get them on the field, and if they don't, then we're just going to continue to see what we saw this year continue to happen. Because if guys are like, I'm never going to step on the field, then they got to go somewhere where they will. And so I totally agree with Tony. Whoever is on the field, they need to get 6 or 7 dudes on the field consistently every game.
I think this is position. Yeah, I think this is, for those of you who didn't see our show Sunday with Jordan Moore, I would encourage you to go back and watch it. I think this is where one of the things we talked about with Jordan comes into play. And it was interesting, them hiring Landry Jones today as an offensive analyst. That was interesting because that's a guy who's been in the NFL for 7 years, played in different systems that are definitely not the Josh Heupel system. That might be the catalyst for some additional pieces in the offense that don't currently exist. The biggest problem they have with young receivers is, and I can't say it strongly enough, the way the route trees work in this offense, it is really, really hard for young receivers to learn in year one. Because you almost have to just rep it and rep it and rep it until it becomes second nature. If I see a shoulder here, I'm going. If I see a shoulder here, I'm breaking it off and cutting inside. If I see a shoulder here, I'm breaking it off and cutting outside. Like, it's so instinctive, and it takes so many practice reps before you're comfortable doing it in a game. It's just hard to play young guys at those positions because they just don't read it well, and they're an interception waiting to happen. But if you add some other pieces like shallow cross, like mesh, like, just some base route tree principles, and you have some set calls where guys know, oh, on this call, I just run a 10-yard curl no matter what. Those are the scenarios when you can roll out some younger guys and just call things that have set calls in them and not rely on them to read defenses. So I think that's where they're going to have to get creative with some new aspects of the offense if they want to play some of those younger guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was one thing I was thinking about earlier. And one thing that I was thinking about with Nico, not only does Nico need to get the receivers out there throwing routes and stuff, he's got to get the defensive backs out there too. And he's got to tell them, all right, I need y'all to do this on this play. I need y'all to do this so that the receivers can learn, okay, he's playing there. This is what I'm doing. Even mid route, like you said, okay, he's on me here. Here's what I'm doing. It's going to take not just the receivers. Nico's going to have to be getting defensive backs out there, receivers out there, repping these things over and over and over so that these dudes even can get on the field. You're exactly right. And that's why Nico's going to have to take what seemed like a much larger leadership role than he did this year. JL said Texas is going to get smoked by Ohio State. Probably right. Probably right. Good to have you with us, JL. Will said that he said on a Ohio State podcast that they should lose every year to the Michigan Weasels if this is the result. I mean, that's fair. Chess, not checkers, right, Will? Let's see. Jonathan said the shooting slumps in the men's game the other day kind of worried me a little going into SEC play. Yeah, for sure. Sadly, that's been their MO for the last few seasons, and Dalton was the answer to that. Hopefully, Chaz can be the answer this year. I think my biggest concern, Rustin, what you tell me your biggest concern moving into SEC play, my biggest concern is depth for them. Because, I mean, you just don't, like, you need to at least have, like, bodies, like actual bodies you can put out there to absorb foul calls.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, yeah, that was a ridiculous call that they just made.
Somebody
they call the
somebody slips and falls down. Oh, it's got to be a moving screen. No one made contact with her.
Right. She just fell down.
That's unbelievably bad.
So it's it's a 12-point game now. Start of the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter just started. Oh, nice take. Was that Whitehorn?
That's Z Spearman. I've got a delay. You're about a second and a half ahead of me.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what happens. Let's see. Kevin said, buddy, it would be like suggesting Tennessee just lay down for Bama or Georgia. I'd feel pretty sick about either. if you end up winning but okay, no, okay, Rustin. If Tennessee just play terrible against Alabama, but they end up winning the national championship, would you be okay with that?
Sure.
Absolutely. I would too. Elijah had this. Go ahead.
Think Notre Dame's worried about Northern Illinois right now?
Nope. Elijah said, I just wish the men's team had more depth. Yeah, me too, man. Absolutely.
I want to see the men, and I hope over the break, these are the things that they're adding. I want to see the men do two things. I want to see them figure out how Darlin Stone-Dubar can get more involved in what they're doing. They need him to play 15 minutes a night.
Amen. Totally agree.
And I want to see them run some set plays to get Igor the ball in the paint. That guy can do so much and create so many mismatches inside. I want to see a bunch of double staggered screens, and even let him be the first screener for Chaz, and then come up off one side wing and then run off a double staggered on the baseline to the post on the other. So people have to pick their poison. They've either got to guard Chaz Lanier, or they've got to let Igor get posted up on the opposite block, or they've got to stick with Igor, and that leaves Chaz one-on-one on somebody. I want to see more of that, where they're finding ways to get him the ball.
To quote Chris Dortch, which he did, if you didn't see our episode with Chris Dortch where we interviewed him, I would strongly recommend that episode. He is fantastic. He writes the Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook every year, which is like the one publication that all basketball analysts use. I mean, it's the most definitive basketball publication there is. And to quote him, he said, Igor is crafty around the basket. And he's exactly right. That's an excellent description of Igor. Side note, that inbounds play underneath the basket Tennessee ran him about 30 seconds ago. That was a nice little play.
Yep.
Let's see here. Some of the other comments. Oh, SEC football said, "Can you imagine if Dalton had stayed?
Yep.
That would have been wonderful. I wish he could have."
Well, if he had, Ruby Whitehorn's taken over this game. If he had, Chaz Lanier wouldn't be a Vol right now. There wouldn't be
That's
enough
true.
shots to go around. He'd have gone somewhere else.
Yeah, good point.
Um,
Billy, welcome. Billy said, "If the refs are this bad, can't the NCAA intervene and do something?"
no. And you would wish they could, but unfortunately they can't.
Rhonda, welcome, Rhonda. Good to have you. She said, "Happy New Year, everybody. Good evening, Vol Bros. Absolutely Happy New Year." Hey, I didn't even think about that. This is our first episode of 2025. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Kevin said that was a great show with Jordan. Hey, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Yeah, we had, I think at one point we had 800 people watching across all three platforms Sunday night. That was fantastic. Sam said the rules have been adjusted to allow for substitutions. I think Coach Josh Heupel needs to make adjustments to evolve the offense. Well, and here's my thing about that. The reason that we hadn't subbed wide receivers in the past was because we said that we're trying to go so fast, we don't have time for that to sub in and out. Okay. Well, that wasn't the case this year. We were waiting till 15 seconds or less on the shot clock to snap the ball. So we had time this year. We could have. So, like Rustin said, they got to pick who they are and go with it. Kevin said, "Can this offense translate down to high school, or is it too complex? Does it depend on a broader talent pool to be successful? Wondering if guys can learn some before college."
It's not about where they learn it. This is the Art Briles veer and shoot. This is run in 1 out of every 3 high schools in the state of Texas. It's run all over the country. The issue is not learning the routes. The issue is learning the speed of the routes. And what can't be simulated for a high school kid coming into college is a third-year defensive back in college who's been in a speed and strength program at the collegiate level for 3 years. There's a speed to that they've never seen before, and it changes the timing of how they break or how they make their breaks in this offense. And so, it takes them a long time to figure out what it feels like when a guy's on this side of my shoulder versus right on top of my shoulder versus right behind my shoulder versus right here. Those are speed of the game stuff that they just have to do against other players in practice at this speed before they figure out what it really feels like in a game.
Jonathan said, "I just saw that the teams that had a first round bye in the playoffs were 0-4, and the conference champs were 0-5. That is accurate, which gives credence to the idea that it should have expanded to 12 teams. Now we just need to get the correct 12 teams in there. That was my thing, because I still don't think that Clemson should have been in there at all. SMU probably shouldn't have been in there. We just got to get the right 12 teams. That's the bottom line." Tony said, "DD looks lost on the court right now. They need to work a lot with him. He can help us. I want to see Igor take it to the rim more too." I'm trying to figure out who DD is. My mind has gone blank.
Darlington Dubar.
Oh, Dubar. Yeah.
I think one reason why he looks lost, and I would agree, there's times he does. Think about this from his perspective. At Hofstra, he was option 1, 2, and 3. Like every time down the court, they were running everything through him. Now he's being asked to be a screener who finds opportunities to score when teams overplay for the guys he's screening for. That's a big adjustment for him. That's hard. And so if you watch, there's times when he's coming down the floor and he's like trying to figure out where he's supposed to be. And like he's instinctively, he's going, I want to go right there, and somebody's going to feed me the ball and I'm going to go do this with it. But then they call a set and he has to stop and go be a screener somewhere. And it's just not what he wants to do. And it's not what he instinctively should do, which is why I want to see more minutes for him. And I want them to figure out some sets they can call that get him the ball in situations that are advantageous to his skill set, because he's a guy who can give us 8 to 10 points a night. He was averaging 18 a game last year. So he can give us 8 to 10 points a night if they'll put him in the right situation.
Tony said he agrees with you. Let's see. VFL in Texas. Welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, Section 4, Article 1A, a field goal shall be scored if a scrimmage kick, which may be a drop kick or place kick, passes over the crossbar between the uprights of the receiving team's goal before it touches a player of the kicking team or the ground.
After a block. So the way, because the NCAA actually apologized for this morning. So the way the rule should have been understood was after the block, it bounced over the crossbar and it should have counted. But they called it dead because they thought it was a dead ball. But the reality is it's a live ball. And because nobody else touched it before it bounced over the crossbar, it's good.
SEC football said, I was about to say, Rustin, this is just like Art Briles' offense at Baylor. It's a wishbone / veer offense.
Yeah, it's called the veer and shoot. Again, if you watch our episode with Jordan Sunday, we discuss it quite a bit.
Herb said, Talasia Cooper's a difference maker. Yes, she is. She is right now, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Spearman are essentially winning this game for Tennessee tonight. Let's see.
Ruby Whitehorn's given them some really good minutes. Jewel Spears giving them some good minutes, but it's obvious when it gets down to crunch time and they need a basket, the ball's going to be in Talasia Cooper's hands. Like it's get out of the way and let her go. How is that not? Oh my gosh.
Will said all of the top 4 seeds got beat in the tournament. They did. So, and then you get into the whole seeding versus ranking. In the seeding versus ranking, the ranked teams, 2 of the top 4 teams got beat, and the seeded teams, all 4 of them got beat. So the people who are saying we didn't need to go to 12 teams, well, clearly we did because of the ranked teams. So even if you don't look at the seeding, just the ranked teams, Ohio State and Notre Dame, 2 of the Final 4 are still playing. And they would have been not in the tournament if it hadn't expanded. So I think the expansion was a good thing. Now we just got to figure out who actually needs to be in the tournament. That's my opinion on it. Spearman has been awesome in this game. Let's see. I think she just got taken out.
No, she just got teed up. So they showed it on the replay, and this is what I was reacting to. If the girl had just driven into Talasia Cooper, it was a block. But the girl didn't drive into Talasia Cooper. She drove into her and threw her forearm out. And then after she knocked her to the floor, she stood over her for a second. So rather than calling either an offensive foul for the forearm extension or even a technical for standing over and taunting her, they called a block on Talasia Cooper. And then when Z Spearman argued, they teed up Z Spearman for complaining.
Let's see. Jonathan said, I think they need to adopt the FCS playoff format. They know it works well, but the NCAA isn't very smart. That is an accurate statement. The NCAA is not very smart. That's a good statement. Mr. Osborne said, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. Absolutely. Happy New Year to you as well. He said, regarding Mike Matthews, do y'all think he stays with the Vols? So that is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this. We've said on here before, we've critiqued the NCAA for certain things that they do. This particular situation just proves the NCAA has zero authority, none. Because the NCAA's rules state that he had 48 hours to enter the transfer portal after he requested his papers. And they're just kind of like the Matthews family, I guess, in Tennessee. They're just like, We'll do it when we want to. I mean, like it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, and they're just telling the NCAA like that's cute. Y'all think y'all can tell us what to do, but you can't. And so that's the way that's going down. It's bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. I hope he stays. I mean, that's all I really can say is I hope he does. Let's see. SEC football said, doesn't Jeff Lubby run a similar offense? He
Same one.
does. Jewel Spear again, right there. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. VFL in Texas said rules never say anything about a block or no block, just says it can't touch the ground first. So it's good. And he gave the hook 'em horns sign.
No, he says so it's no good. If it's
So
no
it's
good,
no
then
good.
why did the NCAA apologize to Arizona State this morning?
Let's see. Mr. Osborne said the VolQuest guys seem to think he is gone now, and apparently he has completed the portal training.
Yeah,
Well, I'd hate to see him go. I mean, I would hate that.
I have mixed feelings on this. So, yes, he is officially in the portal. Who knows if he'll stay or go? But honestly, my gut on this is who cares? Like if the coaches felt like he was so necessary to this offense that he can't possibly get away, then they would have made sure he stayed. But like we said Sunday night, everybody just needs to get used to this. This is the new normal. This is going to happen every single year, and
Sadly, yes.
I guarantee you, if Nico had been talking about going in the portal, the coaches would have made sure that that didn't happen. Okay, if they allow Mike Matthews to get away, then they already have their eyes on somebody else, and they're going, "All right, he can go. We can find somebody just as good. Hit the door."
Yeah.
And I kind of hope that our coaches take more of that approach. Like these kids think they're amazing, and the reality is they're a dime a dozen. Like there's 10 Mike Matthews out there right now who, if the price is right, they're a Vol. So it's not a massive loss. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. He needs to figure out who he is and who he wants to play for and stop messing with everybody's emotions. And it's just like the Concepcion kid. I saw a video the other day where the Concepcion kid was doing like a TikTok dance basically, and using it to try to generate NIL money before he decided where he was going to go to school. As soon as I saw that, I said, I don't want him in Knoxville. That kid's
those
never
skills
going to
certainly do transfer to the football field.
Yeah. That kid's never going to have the mental toughness to do anything to help anybody win anything of any value. So, I don't want that kid. I honestly, I kind of wish Josh Heupel and his staff would take more of the approach that Tony Vitello and Rick Barnes have of if you're a butt kicker and you want to come play with other butt kickers, this is the program for you. Great example, Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Like, there's nothing special about the roster at Arizona State, but dadgummit, they're going to come punch you in the mouth and tell you about it. And, as a result, more guys are going to come to Arizona State now after watching Cam Scattaboo and Sam Levitt and the guys put on the show they put on this year. And they were like, man, that looks kind of fun. Like those dudes are flying around. They're having a blast. They're playing hard. You're going to see some players transfer to Arizona State, and they're going to keep playing the way they are. And, why did Rick Barnes lose a generational roster and get better the next year? Because he's out there recruiting butt kickers, and he's like, if you want to be great, this is where you come be great. If you want to do TikTok dances and you want to jockey for NIL, go somewhere else and be a 500 player. I wish Josh Heupel would take more of that approach and say, you know what, we're going to go after the toughest, nastiest dudes in the portal, and we'll go beat people when it matters, and everybody else can make their little marketing pitches on their own.
Tony has asked a fantastic and appropriate question, a timely question. Said, I've heard Tim Banks has had a contract on his desk for a while. Do y'all think Miami or Clemson want him, or is his agent putting that out there for more leverage? Well, I think they definitely want him. And the reason I think that is because it is common knowledge now that 2 years ago, before Duke hired Mike Elko, who is now at Texas A&M, Duke actually offered the position, the head coaching position, to Tim Banks, and he turned it down to stay at Tennessee. And then Duke hired Mike Elko after Tim Banks turned it down. That is something that did happen. And so for Miami or Clemson to want him as their defensive coordinator, I certainly could see that. Do I think that Banks and his agent are going to use it to get more money out of Tennessee? Yeah, that's how the game works, and I think that that's what they're going to do. But I do think that is a legit offer. They do want him.
I think my question would be, if you're Tim Banks, why would you want Clemson or Miami? I mean, at best, that's a lateral move. NIL budget at Tennessee is bigger than either one of them. So why would you want that job?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you could say that it is a step down based on the final rankings of the season, but that's why I don't think he's going to go to either one of those. But I certainly do think that they do want him. Now, Rustin, here's a question for you. I know Coach Josh Heupel has a set offensive system, but can he not tweak it or change the style of it to get more rotation in the wide receiver room, or simplify the route so we can get some more guys some playing time?
I think that's what we saw happen today. And I think we'll see more of what happened today with Landry Jones getting hired as a offensive analyst. Josh Heupel is comfortable with Landry. He coached him. Landry played in this system, so he understands the system. But Landry also went and played 7 years in the NFL and ran none of this in the NFL. So the fact that he went out and found an offensive analyst who has a lot of history doing the opposite of this tells me that we're about to add some things. Again, going back to Sunday with Jordan, and Jordan and I have actually been texting all week. Where is shallow cross? Where is mesh? There are air raid concepts that kind of fit into the veer and shoot that Heupel hasn't really been calling. Those are set calls that he can make that receivers who don't necessarily have a good feel for the routes in the veer and shoot can go run. Like, anybody can run a 5-yard drag. Anybody can go to 10 yards and stop. These are concepts that people can use to get more players on the field.
Eric said these refs are even worse than football refs.
Oh, it's awful. And I'm telling you, watch it all year. You will be absolutely stunned at how bad women's basketball refs are.
SEC football said, I was about to say, if Jeff Lebby runs a similar offense, can Josh not get with Lebby and learn what they can do different? He said they're buddies.
So didn't we talk about that with Jordan Sunday? Yep. I could easily see them sitting down and chopping up X's and O's. We talked Sunday. Jeff Lebby took some things from Lane Kiffin and integrated into the veer and shoot because he realized there were things that he needed to have that weren't part of the offense. So I absolutely think you could see Heupel and Lebby's staff sitting down. But I think he also, by getting Landry Jones, brought a lot of that in-house.
Steve, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. And he said, we were talking about men's basketball earlier. He said Cade Phillips' stock is rising. Absolutely. Yep. For sure. And he said it's so much fun to watch Chaz Lanier. It sure is. Sam, in reference to Mike Matthews, said, as Coach Vitello said, you're either a Vol or you're not.
Amen.
And he's right. He said, if the kid doesn't want to be here, don't let the door hit him on the way out.
Correct.
And Rhonda said the same thing, like Coach Tony said, you're either a Vol or you're not. Some folks agreed with you about that as well. Absolutely. Kevin, so they finally called that elbow on a drive into the lane. They did just a couple minutes ago. You're right. Here's a great question. Okay. He said, do you think Scottaboo has success in the NFL?
I think it depends on which system he goes to. Like he
I totally
publicly
agree.
he publicly kind of politicked today to be a Chief, which I thought was interesting. Like he was actively talking about getting drafted by the Chiefs. And honestly, he's right. Like I could see the Chiefs putting in some stuff just for him because that's what Andy Reid does. I could see him being real effective for a team like that.
Yeah, I think it 100% depends on what team he goes to. Because if it's a team that's going to spread people out and, try to do like, I don't know, I'm thinking teams like the Eagles, I could see him having success with the Eagles. Teams that know how to run the football, those are teams that he's going to have success at. But kudos to him for showing his pass catching ability yesterday as well. Mississippi Vol agree with you, Rustin. He said it's like Zakai and Coach Barnes said that when Cam Carr left, if they want to go, then leave. That's the way it goes. JL said about Tim Banks, who wants to go to the ACC? Yeah, I totally agree with you. Let's see. Kevin said Scottaboo feels more like Manziel. He's a special guy in college and hard for mixed talent levels to deal with. But I'm wondering how he'll do at that level of talent where a linebacker might cover him. Yeah, good point. Rhonda said my Titans need Scottaboo.
The Titans need a lot of things.
Jonathan said Ewan's watch the NFL, and if you do, who you root for? So here's the thing. I root for former Tennessee players in the NFL. Like I couldn't care less about the NFL, honestly, but the things that I do care about are who's on the field that wore orange. That's what I care about. So like the other day when Josh Dobbs is throwing to Juwan Jennings, that's awesome, dude. Like that's fantastic. When when Trey gets out there and on the offensive line and he just made the Pro Bowl, which is awesome. But when he gets out there, I'm rooting for him. If they wore orange, that's who I'm rooting for. Not necessarily their whole team, just them specifically. Who do you root for, Rustin?
If I'm being honest, I hate the NFL. But I will watch certain coaches. There are coaches that I like to watch and learn from, and Andy Reid, I think, is one of the greatest offensive minds ever in any level of football. So anything the Chiefs do, I'm curious to watch. Like Shanahan's, everything they've ever done. If the 49ers are playing, I'm watching. So just certain coaches I appreciate and like to watch, but if it's just sit down and pull for an NFL team, no, I got better things to do.
Nolan said, to be honest, it'll be hilarious to see Taysom Hill retire and then Scottaboo switch to tight end and become Taysom Hill 2.0 on the Saints. He'd be a great Swiss Army knife type guy, just like Taysom Hill.
Yep.
I think it's a great comparison. Will said, just don't let it be the Browns. And he said, so Evan is a Browns fan. It's the orange, different shade of orange. Ours is Pantone 151C, or the hex code for it is FF8200. That's the hex code for that orange. Let's see. Not that I've had to use that a few times, as you can see on our screen behind us. Let's see. Tony said, I hate that Milrose leaving. I want to see Bama lose 3 to 4 games next year. JL said Dobbs is starting the next game. He sure is. You're right. And SC Football said, you see Josh Dobbs touchdown. He went in, instantly made an impact. Can he not be a starter somewhere? I agree with you, man. He does have a pretty sweet gig right now, though. Being the backup quarterback, you don't get hit as much and you still get paid a ton. So,
well, he is the starter. He is the starter now.
Well, with Brock Purdy out, yeah. But I was just saying, like as a general rule.
The best job in the NFL is practice squad quarterback. You get paid the league minimum, which is going to be somewhere around $400,000 a year, and you may not even dress on Sunday. Like
Yep.
it's a beautiful thing.
That's a pretty sweet gig, actually. Yeah. Audrey said she's a Falcons fan. Yeah, been there, done that. I understand, Audrey. That's tough sometimes, especially being a Falcons fan and a Tennessee fan, isn't it? Let's see.
It's a
Sam,
crazy thing when you can have an awful third quarter, not shoot the ball well for a third of the game, and still score 91 points on the road in the SEC and win by 13.
Let's see. Greg said, "Who's Bama starting at quarterback next year?" I mean, what's that kid's name? Copeland? Not Copeland. What's the kid's name? I can't think of his name.
I don't think anybody knows for another month. I think you got to let the portal play out.
I can't think of that kid's name. Who's their backup? Let's go, dog.
Simpson.
That's what it was. How did I get Copeland?
It could be Ty Simpson, but who knows? I mean, it could be anybody.
Swanson, Samsonite. I knew it started with an S. Let's see. I like Sam's point here. He said players that are just playing for the money have no passion. My favorite players are ones like Al Wilson. He makes it personal. Yeah, amen, brother. Amen. Kevin said, I love that you know the hex code. Ask a nerd his favorite hex code and why it's 000000. So that is the color white. That straight zeros is no, it's black. Straight zeros is black. That's what it is. White is FFFFFF, and black is 000000. And what's interesting is, I think I might know why Kevin said Kevin's way smarter at computer stuff than I am. But if you're looking at a square and you're selecting a color on that square, and like you got the color spectrum on the square, the top left corner is FFFFFFF, and then you would think the bottom left corner is 000000, but it's not. It's the whole bottom of the square. So like real quick, if you're in Photoshop, you can just quickly go to the bottom of the square, and no matter where you go, you're going to end up with the color black. So but you can't do that on the top of the square, only the top left corner to get white. So maybe that's why he's saying that. Tony said he hates the NFL too. SEC football said, who's better, Rustin, Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders?
I think Cam Ward projects better for the NFL.
Agreed. Nolan, Tony, Mississippi Vol, all let me know it was Simpson, not Copeland, which is what I originally said. So thank you guys. I did think of it before I saw those comments, though, so it wasn't totally a bust on me there.
It's kind of wild that Ty Simpson is still at Alabama, because I remember when he was a senior in high school and his dad was coaching at UT Martin, and everybody, including Jeremy Pruitt, were talking to Jason Simpson about coming on staff either as a quarterbacks coach or an offensive coordinator. Multiple schools were, Alabama, Tennessee, lots of schools, so they could get Ty. And that feels like an eternity ago. And he's still in college. It's like, this is the never-ending sequence of years of eligibility.
Sam asked an even better question. Forget the quarterback. Who's coaching in Alabama next year? That's pretty good. Hey, Carl's with us. Welcome, Carl. Good to have you, buddy. Audrey, this made me laugh out loud. When I was like, how'd I get Copeland out of this? She goes, you were way off. That is accurate. I was not close. Jonathan said, as long as Nico isn't the starting quarterback of Bama, he doesn't care who it is. I like that. That's a good one. Let's see. Yeah, Kevin said he used to code, which maybe that's why, because all binary is 0 and 1, so maybe it's 000 because it's code. Maybe that's why. Kevin said he's in cybersecurity now. Seriously, Kevin is like the most incredibly fascinating person to talk to if you want to talk about cybersecurity stuff. It's like he starts talking and it's just like, yo. I mean, like the stuff that he knows and can tell you, it's way over my head. It's fascinating. It's a lot of fun to listen to. Let's see. John said, "Did you see Cam Moore quit mid game and after he set a career touchdown record?"
Was that ever confirmed? Because the way that went down, it felt like, and I had heard rumblings pregame that it was already predetermined that he was going to play the first half. Next year's starter was going to play the second half. So I never heard confirmation on, did he actually quit at halftime, or was that already predetermined?
Kevin said his checks in the mail. Appreciate it, Kevin. Sports Banner 38 said Lady Vols playing well in SEC play. Now listen to Vol fans discredit their play and just talk about how bad A&M is. Well, that's like Rustin made a good point. How nice is it that the Lady Vols had a whole quarter where they just were very sloppy with the ball, didn't play well, and they still win and score 91 points in the game. I mean, that's a good win for them, in my opinion. Real good win. Hey, Kevin, I appreciate that, man. Kevin just did a $10 super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much. Carl said Tennessee basketball and baseball school. SEC got torched in football. Yeah, the only team left's Texas. And so hopefully Texas can represent the SEC well, but they are about to run into a buzzsaw with Ohio State. Sam said, I remember when Jeremy Pruitt said a running back named Gibbs was too small for the SEC.
Yeah. He's panned out pretty well in the NFL.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Well, we thank you all so much for watching. Seriously, it's been a lot of fun. Congrats to the Lady Vols and Coach Caldwell on starting SEC play with a win. Still undefeated. VFL in Texas gave the horns, the hook 'em horns sign. Representing the SEC, man. Hope you play well for sure. Jonathan said, I'm not sure, but if I was him and my team was in that close of a game, I'm doing whatever I can to play. Tony said Kim Caldwell will not be happy tonight. It's not particularly about the third quarter for sure. That third quarter was not a good 10 minutes for the Lady Vols. But, it's incredible. They still pull out a 91 point, scoring game. That's pretty incredible. Let's see. Greg said, Happy New Year, guys. Hit like and subscribe. Hey, I totally agree with that. Thank you for saying that. I never remember to say that. Excuse me, coughing there. So I hope you have a happy New Year too, Greg. Kevin said, Go Big Orange. Absolutely. Carl said, Go Vols. Good night, everybody. Good to see you, Carl. Good to see you, man. Will, great to have you here, buddy. Have a great night and New Year. I hope y'all play well in the semifinal as well. Bobby, thanks, buddy. He said the watch party was awesome tonight, guys. Hope we get to do it again. Yeah, that's pretty cool getting to watch it in real time. Will said, by the way, where's the Oregon fan tonight? Darth Ducky, if you're watching the replay. Yeah, if you're watching the replay, Darth Ducky, we missed you, bud. Jonathan said, great show as always. Good night, everybody. I appreciate you so much, Jonathan. Thank you, buddy. Eric said, good night, Vol Bros. Coach Kim will let these Lady Vols up after this game. Isn't that nice to be able to say that and they're still undefeated? Like, that's a nice thing. Listen, that's a quick turnaround. They're going to play again Sunday afternoon against Oklahoma. But that one's in Knoxville, so that's good. Big weekend in Knoxville for basketball. You got the men hosting Arkansas Saturday, women hosting Oklahoma on Sunday. Mississippi Vol, fantastic point. He said, I can't think of a better way to start 2025 than hitting that like button. I totally agree, man. Text a buddy about the Vol Bros, right? Like, let people know about it. Said, I appreciate that. Sam said, happy 2025, Vol Bros. Appreciate you, buddy. We hope all of you, seriously, we wish all of you health and happiness in 2025. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, seriously. JL said, hopefully Tennessee fans will back away from the edge after what happened to Oregon. I agree with that. That definitely put our win into perspective. Totally agree with that. Rhonda said, great times, good stuff. Thanks for the show. Appreciate that so much, man. Will said, yeah, make sure to hit that like button for the bros on the way out. I appreciate that very much. Totally agree. Thank you very, very much. We hope all of you have a great evening. We hope that you do have a great 2025. We will see you Sunday night. Sunday night, we'll have two things to talk about. We'll have the men's game against Arkansas and the women's game against Oklahoma. So we hope to see you then. And go Vols, baby.